and welcome to the Elle Collective. I'm Kenzie.
And I'm Rachel. With over 350 weddings under our belts, we help you create a wedding filled with big moments, real connection, fabulous decor, and experience-focused celebration that will have guests reliving your event for months to come.
Each episode, you'll hear us share our favorite and not so favorite wedding day experiences from real-life weddings. We chat about trends in the industry and interview experts so that you have the best tools as you plan your once-in-a-lifetime occasion.
Hi guys, I'm hopping on today with Kenzie to interview Curtis Kennedy of Curtis Kennedy Films. Curtis serves destination and Florida wedding markets, and if you visit his Instagram, you'll quickly discover why he is one of my favorite videographers. His style is clean, timeless, and his films are absolutely beautiful. Curtis, we are so excited to have you on the Elle Collective podcast today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Let's just pretend we're talking to a bunch of brides who are looking for a videographer for their wedding. What is the first thing you would tell them to look for, not to look for? What would you want them to know?
I think you need to determine what style of video you're drawn to. So browse Instagram, YouTube. What kind of color exposure are you drawn to? Do you like bright editorial type look? Do you like dark and moody? Does, smooth cinematic motion draw you in, or do you like a more organic handheld look? As far as storytelling itself, what do you feel connected to with that? Or do you like a lighthearted and fun vibe? Do you like more sentiment and emotion? Do you like something a little more dramatic, sexy, and edgy? There's a ton of different, video styles out there. So I think, a good first thing to do is just to watch wedding films and just see what you're drawn to. So I think, that's where to start. As far as like actually, finding your videographer, it's always a good idea to ask your planner, ask your photographer. I think photographers, they work with a lot of people and they know who is really great to work with and they know who is difficult to work with. And, as far as, your wedding goes and preserving all your memories, you want to have a team that flows. So that's going to be a big part as well. Just finding someone who collaborates well together, can kind of like do things for just to get everyone kind of their best work for their couple, for their client, because that's the ultimate goal.
Okay, so Curtis, tell me, like you described a lot of great, like different kinds of film. And so as brides are, out there researching what kind of videographer is the right fit for them, like tell me a little bit how you would describe your work.
Yeah, so our work, I think, really rides more the kind of natural cinematic side of things. With our coloring, I mean, it's pretty true to life, maybe takes on a little, editorial look to it. And when I say that, I mean, really our film style is very photographic in that, really every frame that we put into our films, we want to have beautiful lighting and beautiful color, beautiful composition. I want everyone that watches our videos to think, wow, every single frame is just stunning, like you would when you flip through your photo album or, scroll and look at your photographs. So that's kind of the visual side of things. We don't do, our motion and everything is pretty fluid and very, solid. Not like, I don't do like a handheld kind of shaky look, kind of that organic handheld look. We just, everything is, is very fluid. And then just when it comes to our storytelling, I feel like we try and strike a balance between, kind of sentiment, getting the emotions of, everything that's happening with, the toasts and vows, and really kind of getting the essence of this couple and, their love story, but also striking a balance with, most of our clients are destination clients. They're coming from somewhere else. All the guests are coming from somewhere else. So we really try and, get the location and the travel aspect of the wedding and the guest experience as well, because they put so much time, effort, money into their guest experience with, hiring a 15-20 piece band and, having all these elements at, the welcome party and cocktail hour. So, we really make a point to showcase, the guests really enjoying this weekend.
First of all, I think you're 100% right that most couples are booking their planner and their photographer first. So you already have those two vendors who know this industry so well. So yeah, I love what you're saying. Ask them for their opinion, especially because you want your photography and your videography to have the same vibe. And I have seen that before where, someone's booking me and I have more of that classic, timeless, natural editing style, and then they're booking a videographer with a very different style. And it's fine if that's what you want. But to me, the storyline is there's a disconnect between those two types of work. And I like how you're describing your style, because I think it's clarifying for me what I look for when I look for videographers for my brides, because I do get asked quite often, who do you recommend? And I'm mostly recommending people who have a similar style because I want that consistency in their final products. What I see when I look at your work is a consistency throughout the video, which is you're explaining as that frame by frame, beautiful lighting, none of this like thrown in there shaky camera work. Some of that is just a little trendy right now, and I don't think it will be in a few years. And I think people will regret that, or it won't come across quite the same way in 20, 30, 50 years. Tell us a little bit more about, I see a lot in the videographer industry about filmmaking and cinema and video. And I think videographers get kind of particular about how they want to be framed. And I think that I understand that. And I also think it's very confusing to a bride who's just coming into this for the first time and just wants a beautiful video. What are your thoughts on that with some of that terminology? What would you tell brides to really look for or to ask their videographer when they're having those discovery calls?
Yeah, I think just looking at the work and seeing what you connect with, because, whether a videographer or a cinematographer, or a filmmaker describes their work as being a film, or this is cinema, or this is a video, like,
right.
I feel like it's all terms for just the same thing. And,
well, it's like when somebody comes to me and says, oh, you're light and airy. And I'm not going to correct them and say, I don't consider myself light and airy. I'm going to say, have you been on my Instagram? Have you been on my website? Do you like the work? Because then that's what matters. It doesn't matter what our individual terms for this is, right?
Yeah, agreed. I think, videographers, they name things a little bit different, like one person's sneak peek might be, this person's trailer, or this person's raw footage might be this person's like documentary edit. So there are some things as far as deliverables that, they can be different depending on just what different people call them. So it is important to, kind of ask questions about what the deliverables are, and, just ask for specifics, because you don't want to like think you're getting like a full length, documentary of your wedding, that you can watch from start to finish, when really you're getting a USB drive that has all of the video clips from the entire day just dropped into it, and it's completely unwatchable.
I could not agree more. I mean, there is so much wedding jargon out there that as a planner, I spend so much time translating for my clients. And so, like you're saying, it's so crucial to do your research, ask the questions, like know who you're booking and their brand and what, I think that that's why a lot of people do enjoy referrals, or, hey, my friend used this person, or, my planner recommended this vendor, because then they have a better understanding of like what they're getting. Okay, I have a planner question for you. So I know you mentioned in destination weddings, people spend a lot of time doing like all these guest experience things. And so I loved how you set an intention to capture all of those things really well. And so tell me, what are a few things as clients are planning that do capture really well? Like, I think guest experiences are a huge trend right now. And so what are things as brides are planning, or trends that you're seeing that you're liking a lot in this coming season?
Yeah. So, some trending things that I see at weddings that, capture really well on video, would be kind of those elements outside of the wedding day. Welcome parties are such a big thing now, especially with destination weddings. It's just nice to see guests being able to enjoy, a kind of a full weekend event besides just a wedding day, and seeing, the difference in guest attire is a lot of fun. And that's becoming a big thing, is like kind of themed attire. People will send inspiration in advance for their guests to kind of like have fun with. Like recently we did like an all white party, and everyone shows up dressed in white. Super cool. Sometimes people do like Palm Beach pink, and everyone shows up in pink, and the guys are in pink linen suits and stuff like that. So that, and all of that, that captures really well on video. And I would, when it comes to just hosting all these different types of events, just always consider like the space that it's done in. Have fun with, the whatever the location is, the hotel or resort. Kind of take advantage of the spaces that they have to offer, because they'll have a different look and a different vibe, and they capture differently, and it's a different backdrop. And I think that's a big thing with video and photography, is, just having a dynamic backdrop for each different event, and unique decor. And we're coming up on the first weekend of January 2024, just to, so people know where this is in time. But this weekend, we've got a welcome party tomorrow. Saturday, they're actually doing just a beach party. So we're capturing that for a couple hours. And then Sunday is a full wedding day. So, they're putting together kind of this fun full weekend for guests. And every event is, has a different theme. And just being able to capture that all is super fun, and being able to put that into a wedding film that gives them something super dynamic, and just a great memory to watch back on.
I love that trend of focusing on the guests a little bit more, and the storytelling that comes out on the video side, I think makes the films that I'm seeing now so much more unique compared to sort of that generic film layout that we were maybe seeing a few years ago. I just think that that's a little more inspired and a little bit more unique to the personality of the couple or their location, like you're saying. Something that I get asked a lot as a photographer when people are, my brides are coming to me and saying, okay, we booked you. We want to start moving forward with a videographer. Who do you recommend? What should we be looking for? And here it is. How much does a videographer cost? And that's such a difficult question, especially with some of these 3-4 day events. But what would you want brides to know about cost, or how they should make some of those decisions in their budget?
If you just Google how much is a wedding videographer, I think you're just going to find, wrong and misleading information. It can be a loaded question because, what events are you looking to capture and across how many days, and, not only, the coverage, but, what kind of deliverable are you looking for? Because a longer wedding film is probably going to cost more. And, if you want like a full length documentary, like I said, to be able to watch the whole thing from start to finish and it's 3 hours long, like those all carry different costs. I just think that you're going to want to invest something similar to what you're investing with your photographer. And depending on your priority, it could be a little more, it could be a little less. But I just think like a similar, a photographer and a videographer that are kind of in a similar pricing tier, they're going to have a similar level of expertise and experience. So I wouldn't veer off, too far from what you're investing with your photographer. Because if you think that, I'm going to, spend this much on my photographer and I'm going to be able to get away with, spending half on video, I'm just afraid that could be detrimental to your photographs, because it's possible that you'll end up with someone that has a little less experience. And again, I would just go back to, ask your wedding planner, ask your photographer, because, they're going to be honest with you. And, if you're, especially when we're talking about higher end weddings, like your photographer is not like looking to compete over a bigger piece of the pie than the videographer. They're not concerned about that. They really want to work with someone who's going to give, their client the best experience. So they're going to make a recommendation based on that, not based on, pricing, really.
I will echo that 1,000%, because that is one of the questions I get when I'm asked about videographers is, who do you work well with, or whatever. And I agree, that's so not an issue. I can work with anybody. It's more that I want you to walk away with that seamless experience, and I want the photos and the video to line up for your future benefit, so that when you look back on this, you have a very similar memory that's being set up for you with your photos and with your video. So
that's why I think, having a cohesive look and kind of cohesive feel with, your photo and video style is important, because, they're going to handle light pretty much the same. Whereas again, if you have, a more natural look to your photography, but you have dark and moody for video, that style just really butts heads, especially when it comes to handling light. And, you only have so much time with the couple during their portrait session, and, to be able to just flow together, like, is so valuable. And you get more video content that way. You get more photographs that way when everything is just vibing together, and not like, oh, now the video guys need to set up this shot over here because it works better for their style. Like, it's just not a great experience.
Right. We've been talking about guest experience, but your experience on the wedding day matters too.
Yeah.
Well, no, and I think it's hard to, I've seen a couple of times where, the venue might not fit. Even if you get your photo and video vibes to align, like you can't have a super dark mansion and expect to get really light photos. And so I think it's important to, like, when I do my initial design meetings with clients, it's, okay, before we book anything, let's talk about what you're looking for and get on the same page as like the bride and groom and your goals, and then go out and book your vendors that do align really well. And that's where getting all of us on the same page of like planner, photo, and video is so important, because then we all know what you're looking for. Okay, one question that I get a lot and I'm going to lob this out there to both of you actually. So as far as photographers and videographers, when you're booking them, is it okay to negotiate, or is that kind of a taboo thing?
Yeah. So when it comes to negotiating, I used to have certain opinions about it, and I would get frustrated by that type of thing. But there's an Instagram account called Think Splendid that kind of like changed my view on it a little bit. And she said, to look at negotiating as an invitation to collaborate. And it was really about like luxury clients, high net worth individuals. I mean, they are used to negotiation. So, we shouldn't look at negotiating as, a thing to just immediately shut down. I mean, a lot of us wedding vendors have, our certain minimums, when it comes to just our normal collections or a dynamic pricing based on the date. So I think, if it's in a spirit of collaboration, then absolutely, I think it's okay to just, kind of go for the ask, just to, see if you guys can close the deal, and, you get your dream photographer, videographer, dream planner, whatever. I don't think it's unacceptable to do that. It just depends on, how it's asked, I suppose.
Yeah, I think it's the spirit of the question. And for me, this is why I have a discovery call with any couple or their planner that comes across my plate. I want to know on my end, what is this wedding about? What is this couple about? If we're not a good fit and you come back asking for a discount, it's probably going to be a no. If our personalities didn't jive, or, I don't think I can deliver, you're looking for a dark and moody photographer and that's not what I am. No, I'm not the right person for you. But if we had a great call, I mean, some of my discovery calls go on for 90 minutes because we're just having so much fun, and we're, we just agree on so much, and we're having so much fun talking about this wedding. If you came back to me after a call like that and you were like, wow, Rachel, you're my dream photographer, you're just slightly above what I was looking for, I'm a lot more willing to work with someone in that scenario. I'm human, right? You just complimented me. I want to be friends with you. Like that's why I'm in this industry, is because I want to work with people that I care about and love working with. But on the flip side, if you message me through Instagram and say, hey, I can't pay this minimum, but I can pay you this, let me know. That's just going to be a very different response on my end. So I would just say, remember that these vendors that you're working with or hoping to work with, they're people too. We have businesses to run. So yeah, we have our bottom lines, but we're human, and we want to love you, and we want you to love us. So I would just keep that in mind, I guess.
Yep. We're all small businesses. We want to, collaborate. We want something that's going to be mutually beneficial to everybody. And also, not just, the money side of things, but, we've had some negotiations as far as our contracts go. I'm not opposed to people asking questions about the contract, and also with the higher end space, we do come across some like NDAs, and we've done some negotiations as far as NDAs go, where really, after we just talk things through, the client just didn't want their names published, or they don't want their business published, that type of thing. They just don't want that information out there, which is completely acceptable. So, it's just that, that collaborating vibe is we're happy to do it as small businesses, and we want to come up with something that works for everybody.
Yeah, I read somewhere recently that privacy is the new luxury, and I loved that because I have gotten that as well, where it's, look, we really love your work, but I don't want to be on your Instagram. And that you do have to realize, and I would say 96% of all the brides who ever asked me that do understand this, that is an expense on my end, because that is a loss of marketing material, and they're usually really beautiful weddings,
Yeah.
So I think you're right. Just coming to the table and being honest about what it is that you want. This is where getting on that call with your vendor, or having a really honest discussion with your planner and telling that, if they're going to be in communication with your vendors, I think just be honest about what it is that you're hoping for. Can you give us a little bit of your backstory with video and how you got into this, and what's the passion behind this for you and your wife, right? She's part of the business with you.
Yeah. My wife is part of the business as well. So we've been doing this for 10 years now. I've kind of always dabbled in video, kind of like my entire upbringing. But I guess what kind of brought me into kind of the, like a, more professional, side of things anyways. When we were pregnant with our first kid, he's now 10. I wanted to get a DSLR camera so I could take some photos and video, after he was born. And my wife Sharon is like, yeah, you can get a camera, but you have to shoot a music video for me. Now we're both very musical people. We've both written songs in the past, recorded songs. So she had a pile of songs, and we filmed a music video for one. She's 9 months pregnant, ready to pop. We're like outside our apartment at the time, in the fields, filming this video. And then an hour after wrapping up the shoot, she goes into labor. And so we have our first kid. And when I finally got around to editing the video, putting it together, she saw the final product, and she was blown away, like, this is amazing. Why don't you think about doing something with video for a living? And I was like, I always wanted to try shooting a wedding. We had friends who are wedding photographers, and we always thought that was cool. So I tagged along with them one day for a wedding, and the video turned out pretty good, and the rest is kind of history.
Okay, Curtis, tell us a little bit about where we can find you. Like, how do we, clients learn more and work with you and all of those things?
Yeah, so you can find me just on my website, curtiskennedyfilms.com. Otherwise, Instagram is great, at Curtis Kennedy Films. I'm on YouTube, Vimeo, TikTok, even though I don't really I don't go on there very much. No, it's not my vibe.
Curtis, thank you so much. Like, I took so much out of today that I can only imagine so many of our brides are going to take things and, put it into their planning process. So not only to hear from you as a videographer, but also somebody who has, done so many weddings and have so much experience across the country. This was so very helpful. So thanks again for all of your time. Thanks for hanging out with us. We would love to keep planning your big day with you, so make sure that you like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future content.
Want to weigh in on today's topic or have any questions for us? All of our contact info, sponsors, and links from today's episode are in the show notes below. See you next time.